This is Support is Sexy, episode 578, with Stephanie Olson, founder of Are Rosie. Welcome to Support is Sexy. I'm your host, Elayne Fluker, entrepreneur, author, and founder of Chic Rebellion Media. 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, I bring you inspiring women entrepreneurs who share their wins and lessons to help you take your business to the next level. Here we go. Hi, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Support is Sexy. I'm so happy to have you here. You know, it just would not be the same without you. And if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, you know that a lot of the women entrepreneurs who come on the show talk about giving credit to one key thing that was an important part of their success: mindset. It was all about their mindset. So for you, if you're ready to stop playing small and to take your business to the next level and to live the life of your dreams, think about the importance of leveling up your mindset. Now is the time. And to get you started, I want you to go download a free mindset meditation that I created just for you at levelupmindset.coach. That's levelupmindset.coach. Level up your mindset and take your life to the next level. Now, in this episode, we talked to Stephanie Olson, and Stephanie is the founder of Are Rosie. And she and I met actually when I was in Atlanta, I think maybe a week or so before I was about to leave to go on this big trip with Remote Year, travel the world, etc. But I'm so excited that I was able to, one, stay in touch with her. We've been great email friends and that kind of thing, but also to be able to witness her growth of the company that she's had just the past 9 months. But it's really grown fast, and she talks to us in this episode about how you handle success. Because, you know, on the podcast, of course, we talk about the bumpy parts of the journey, but also I think there's the other side of that. Some of the women, actually a lot of the women, are very successful in their businesses and things are going well right now. How do you handle that as well? And Stephanie talks to us about how she had to learn how to get grounded, how she had to learn how to surround herself with powerful women who can inspire her, the importance of mentors. Also, she talks about saying yes and how that can help you expand your network. And in addition to saying yes, she talks to us about the power of knowing when to say no, and to do so with kindness, but with no guilt. Gotta know when to say no. All right, so I know you're going to enjoy this episode. I'm so grateful to Stephanie again for sharing her journey with us. So now, without further ado, Stephanie Olson. So Stephanie, thank you so much for joining us for an episode of Support is Sexy. I'm so excited to finally chat with you.
Yes, same. I'm excited to be here and to be spending the morning together, Elayne.
Excellent. So our first question, when did you first fall in love with entrepreneurship?
You know, it's interesting. If I'm being honest, I probably didn't fully fall in love with it until I started my own business. I had always romanticized it and thought that it would be really awesome, but there was a lot of fear around that. And I don't think I really fully recognized that this is exactly what I'm meant to be doing and where I'm supposed to be. And the magic that can happen when you are, living in your purpose and doing what you love, until I just kind of stepped off that cliff and did it.
What would you say that moment, if you can remember, what was that moment like for you when you thought, okay, I'm just going to do it?
It was scary, right? Mm-hmm. Like it was... I can't remember who said this. It may have been Reid Hoffman, but he has this analogy of, starting a business is like walking off a cliff and banking on yourself to build, something to catch you or to make you fly before you hit the ground.
Right.
And I would say that is 100% true. And so it was scary, but it was also incredibly exhilarating and empowering. But it was a lot of mixed emotions. Mm-hmm. And very quickly I realized there is no time for any of this because we've got a lot of work to do. And so I really just kind of buried myself in like, okay, let's just take one step at a time and do the day to day so that I don't get too overwhelmed.
Do you feel like there are moments where you're like, there's no time for this, but is there a side of you that also knows this is just all part of the process or the thing? And I ask that because so many women that I talk to who are successful, have their own businesses, of course, say that, the fear might still be there. So whatever that feeling is doesn't necessarily go away, but you learn how to move forward in spite of it.
Yeah, I agree 100%. So over the last, 9 months or so, I have gotten more comfortable than I ever could have imagined I would be with uncertainty. Mm-hmm. And for someone like me, who's frankly a control freak, and that's a big part of it, it's a coping mechanism for me, is like finding a sense of control. Mm-hmm. I really learned to focus on the things that I can control and to let everything else go. And fortunately for me, the business has been successful relatively quickly. I mean, beyond what I could have imagined or hoped for. And so the day-to-day doing has really kept me out of that headspace of feeling panicky about the gravity of what I'm trying to accomplish with my team, and really keeping me focused on, here's what I need to get done today.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned you're a control freak. I don't know if you used those words, but you like having control. Is that something that you've always had since you were younger? What was Stephanie like as a young person? Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've always been this way. I've always liked to have a sense of control. And it's so funny now. I have 2 little girls at home. Mm-hmm. My older daughter, everyone comments that she's just like a carbon copy of me. And of course I'm like, I don't see it, but she has it, right? So she's already at 5 years old, constantly looking for a sense of control and balance and feeling like she has a say. So it's funny to see her and for my mother to comment that, this is how I was as a kid. But yeah, it's just, I like feeling that sense of control. I like consistency. I like predictability, which is challenging when you're an entrepreneur. But yeah, I've been like this, I think, from when I was little.
Where did you grow up?
I am born and raised here in Atlanta. So there aren't very many of us.
That's right. Very few.
Yeah, I tell people I'm from Atlanta and then they say, no, but where are you really
from? Right.
Really, I'm born and raised here. So grew up in the city. I went to school in the city as well. And I still live in the city now with my family. So I haven't made it very far from the nest.
And I remember us talking before. You mentioned that it was before the podcast, before when we first met, that you mentioned that you're close to your extended family too. Do you have a lot of family that's still there?
Yeah, so thankfully I do. So, while my brother and sister and I were raised here in the city, neither of my parents grew up in Atlanta. So my father actually immigrated to the States in the 70s as a refugee. And my mother moved to Atlanta from a farm in Nebraska. And they raised all of us here. So the 3 kids here, and there's now 10 grandchildren among the 3 of us. And it's really a beautiful thing. We all live within 20 minutes of my parents' house, and we see each other, once a week, and we are on the phone constantly. And it's really a tight-knit, close family, which I'm really thankful for.
I love that. Where did your dad come from? You said he was a refugee from.
Yeah, he grew up in a refugee camp in Palestine and then also in Jordan. So his family is Palestinian.
So what would you say, or who would you say were some of your greatest influences growing up?
It's interesting. I've been thinking about this. And for me, it was never really like some celebrity that seemed, so far off, right? It was never like, oh my gosh, I want to be Britney Spears. For me, it has always been business people. And this is going to sound so nerdy, but, I come from a very working class family. Neither of my parents was able to go to college. And I lived in a neighborhood where there were some really, really wealthy families kind of mixed in. And I remember when I was younger, going to my friends' houses and just kind of being in awe of the lifestyle and everything that these families had and how they were living, a different way than my very working class family. And I've always just been like attracted to business people. So there's stories that my friends' parents will tell me, and they're like, Steph, I remember when you were a kid and we would be at a birthday party at, a jumpy house place, and you were just standing there shooting the breeze with all the parents, asking them how business was going, what they were up to, what they did at work. And so it's interesting. I think I've just always been drawn to business people, and I've been heavily influenced by my mother, who was a working mother and worked in the business world, in sales actually, her entire career. I mean, she used to take me to work with her in the summers in lieu of summer camp. And I was just like, this is the coolest place. They have a fax machine and computer. Right. So I think, I've always been drawn to the business world.
Isn't that amazing when you look back and kind of reflect and think, actually, I was always drawn to this, or I was always like that, these different things that are part of us that show up later for us as adults.
Yes, it's so true to kind of reflect and connect all the dots about kind of what led you to where you are at this moment in your life.
So professionally then, once you got older, did you know, having been so interested in business, as you told us now, did you know or figure that eventually you would become an entrepreneur at some point, or did you take a quote unquote traditional path?
Yeah, so I took a traditional path for, much of my career, right? So I started out in a really traditional way. So my first job out of college, I went to work for Microsoft. Mm-hmm. And I remember when I quit that job after a year, I thought my dad was going to have a heart attack, right? Because he's like, what? You're going to work here for the next 40 years, right?
Because that's what you do.
Yeah. And so I worked at Microsoft, and then I worked at AOL after that. So these big behemoth media companies and tech companies. And then it's interesting, as I got older, I started to get more, less risk averse. And so I would go work at tech startups, some of which got acquired by these giant tech companies. I guess that was the beginning of my entrepreneurial path, is kind of working at these companies that we were building from the ground up and that had a very startup vibe and that were startups. And so that kind of led me into eventually being able and willing to kind of jump off the cliff and do my own thing.
So tell us about then the moment you jumped off that cliff. You told us sort of how it felt, but when did you come up with the idea for the company We Are Rosie that you run today, that's growing so quickly in just a year, which is great.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting. I, a little over a year ago, just kind of walked out of my job. And I knew that I had to do something different. And I knew intrinsically in that moment, I knew that it was just going to be on me to create the type of work environment that I wanted to work in long term, and to do the kind of work that I would be really proud to share with my daughters that I was doing.
Mm-hmm. What made you walk out?
I can't go into too much detail about that, but what I can say is, I had just kind of reached a point where I recognized that it was going to be on me to create a space where not only me, but other people in the advertising industry felt comfortable and safe and encouraged, and where we really promoted, a lot of diversity of thought, racial, gender, age diversity, and to create this space that I just couldn't find anywhere else in the industry. Mm-hmm. So that was really, the values that I was focused on when I started the business. What led me to actually really just hunker down and build this company is, after I left my last job, I spent a lot of time networking. I really just needed to take a moment and take a step back and realign my focus and really get centered around what mattered to me and my family and what I wanted to do with my life. And I don't know. I mean, it's just, I have a mentor of mine that always says there are no accidents. And I just, during that 2 or 3 months after I left my job, met the most incredible people. And I recognized that they all had a very similar thread in their story. Or a lot of them did. So a lot of them would share with me, I've worked in the advertising industry my entire life, and it just doesn't feel like a home to me. Something just doesn't feel right. Either they had a really unfortunate experience in terms of, toxic masculinity that, permeates this industry, or feeling like they need to work 80 hours a week and just not being able to have a life outside of work, or whatever it may be, right? There was a wide spectrum of stories that I heard. And I recognized that there should be a space for all these people to go and do really meaningful work. And it didn't exist. And so I decided to build it.
Mm-hmm. So it's solving in a big way your own pain point, but then the ones of others who you can, I would imagine, relate to because you were from that industry overall.
Exactly.
Right. So it wasn't even us seeing it from the outside. It was being a part of it, having left your company, and then, like we said, seeing what other people are going through. So for every woman entrepreneur and a few good men, I always say, who are listening to sort of keep that in mind. Sometimes it's just as you said, whether networking or however, connecting with other people and getting a sense of other people's journey.
Right.
So what would you say? Well, first tell us what the name We Are Rosie means. And then what would you say is the first step that you took once you decided, okay, I need to launch an agency that has the values that you mentioned?
Yeah. So I'll tell you a little bit about the name. It's funny. I get asked this question all the time and I love it. And so many people say, oh, is it Rosie the Riveter? And I'm like, it isn't actually. And I think that surprises a lot of people, although I'm totally fine with that association and respect and appreciate the iconography of Rosie the Riveter. For me, I mentioned I have two daughters. My younger daughter's name is Margot Rosie. And, one of the things that really forced me to start my own business and was an encouraging factor in me starting this company is that I felt like I had kind of lost focus on what was important in my life and what were going to be the things that I'm thinking about in terms of accomplishment, towards the end of my life and what do I really want to do. And I realized, I had really allowed just kind of the grind of everyday work to take over my life. And I, even when Rosie was a baby, I still have some guilt. Like I wasn't there for her the way that I should have been. And my priorities were out of whack. And I was so focused on proving that I could be a successful businesswoman in spite of being a mother to the world that my priorities were not appropriate. And I should have been thinking, you know what, I'm going to be a successful businesswoman because I am a mother. And starting this company was the beginning of that shift for me. And I wanted the company to have a name that would always remind me in a very personal way of why I am doing what I'm doing. And so the business is named after my younger daughter.
I love it. And I love that Simon Sinek says, right, start with your why. That gives you a really big why that you're reminded of every single day.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And in terms of the first step in starting the business, it's interesting. I get asked this question quite a bit. And I think people are kind of surprised by what I say. Like I don't feel like there's any grand gesture that you can make in starting a business. And this is something that I think every entrepreneur needs to understand. You just have to put one foot in front of another. Because if you look if you look at it in the way of, okay, I need to start this company. I need a website and I need marketing and I need messaging and I need an LLC and a bank account. I mean, you can just be overwhelmed. And I certainly had those moments where I was just staring the beast in the face thinking, I have no idea how to do all of these things. The first step is just speaking it into existence. People are like, Steph, what are you up to? Well, I now own a consulting firm and advertising agency. And then just one foot in front of the other, right? Just, today I'm going to become an LLC and register with the state. Today I'm going to open a business bank account. Today I'm going to talk to new clients. So it's really the accumulation of so many things. It's not just the pressure of having to do everything at once.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I think all of what you shared, but especially the two things that stuck out to me and really resonated with me was one, how, like you said, we look at all the things, right? All the things we think we need to do, some things we don't know if we need to do, but maybe we need to do them. It just can be overwhelming. But then taking a step back and taking it one step at a time can really help you not be paralyzed by like what they say, analysis paralysis, paralyzed by the fear of or not even sometimes it's the fear. I know I've been here. It just feels so big, or the vision feels so big. And if I think, how am I going to accomplish whatever the grand vision is, I don't move because you don't really know where to move. But one step, like you said, register your LLC or do the different things day by day, you see, as they say, little by little, little becomes a lot. Doing a little bit each day, you sort of move forward. So thank you so much for sharing. I think even people who already have their businesses, we sometimes forget that, because I know even as I try to level up in different ways in my business, I have those moments where I'm like, it feels so big. I'm just going to sit right here. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. It does feel so big. And it's interesting, I have really started finding my mechanisms for grounding myself when I do have that feeling of, oh my gosh, this is a really big deal,
Yeah. How do you ground yourself?
I have gotten into meditation.
Yeah.
And a lot of guided meditation and breathing, right? I have really gotten good at just taking a moment and taking the deep breath in and holding it and just letting it all out and letting all of the fear and worry and really just unhelpful emotions out so that I can focus on what I can control and what matters in that moment. And it has been so enormously helpful for me in approaching the business, not from a place of ego, which is where I think a lot of these worry and fear-based emotions can come from, and really just approaching the business from a place of love every day. And it's really made such a huge impact.
Do you think you also sort of get grounded in, I guess, a confidence, or I'd say a possibility mindset when you do, as you said before, speak things into existence? So saying, I have this agency, or I'm doing this, or I'm looking for these type of clients, even before you're either quote unquote ready or really started or wherever it is, like they say it before you're quote unquote ready.
Yeah, I think so. I think having, it's interesting. As we talk about the need to be really grounded, there is a part of entrepreneurship where you still need, I'd say 15% of my time is focused on things that people may say are head in the cloud, right? These really big ideas and the vision of the company. And then the other 85% of the time is just, today I need to do X, Y, and Z.
Right.
I think that I have been really motivated and encouraged by the possibility of the business and what it can be. But I also think something we haven't talked about is that I have been so encouraged by the support of others. It has been beyond anything I ever could have expected. And I feel like there have been angels around this business from day one. And I know wholeheartedly that I wouldn't be where I am. The business wouldn't be where it is without all of these incredible people cheering us on.
That's excellent. We're all about that around here, Stephanie. Support is sexy.
Yes.
We love it.
Yes, it is.
It is. So tell us some of the ways that maybe for people listening, that maybe support has shown up for you when you didn't expect it, or maybe when you didn't straightforward ask for it. Because that's some of the things I try to remind women, especially, to just kind of be aware that it's available for you even when you're not asking. Sometimes we're so focused on getting whatever it is done, we miss the opportunities for support.
Yeah, I would say I have been introduced to probably 250 people over the last 6 months. And I've had to get really comfortable with making time and space to build new relationships. And I realized, I had these blinders on my entire career. And it was I know everybody in the advertising world. And these are my people. And these are really smart people and amazing people. And these are my friends. And these are the people I need to know. And when I stepped off that cliff, I really expanded the breadth of my connections. And now I know people that work, for the city. I know people that work in tech entrepreneurship. I know people kind of across the board, and learning from all of these people and gathering their different perspectives has been invaluable for me as I build the business, and just really broadening my horizons and my own perspectives, and making sure that I'm not always just seeing things through the lens of my own personal experience. So that has been a great source of encouragement for me. And then to give a very, tactile example, a few months ago, I went on a women's purpose retreat that was hosted by a very good friend of mine, Jessica Joins. And she is truly a very good friend of mine. But I also want to say I didn't know Jessica 5 months ago. And so that is kind of a recurring theme. The people that I am on the phone with most every day, the people that I'm getting the most support from, many of them, certainly not all of them, are new to my life, and are serving as such wonderful guides and friends and supporters as I build the business. So Jessica invited me to attend a women's purpose retreat. And it was a 2-day retreat with about 25 women that were looking to either infuse purpose into their work lives or into a business that they're running. And I went on this retreat. I didn't really have any expectations. And frankly, Elayne, I was really nervous about being away for 2 days and unplugging.
Away from the business.
Yeah, yeah. It's a lot. And I was encouraged by a mentor of mine to just, Steph, you just got to go. You need a break. This is going to be good for you. And I went and I met the most amazing group of women. It is so beyond what I could have expected or hoped for. These women have changed my life. They've changed my perspective on the business and on, friendship, frankly, in business. And, it's just unlikely places, right? Like I probably would have talked myself out of going, but I have this wonderful mentor that keeps me on the straight and narrow and says, Steph, you've got to go. You've got to take care of yourself. And, to my surprise, it was life-changing. It will change the course of the business. It will change the course of my life. And I'm so thankful for those experiences.
That's amazing. Now, were these other women entrepreneurs, or was it sort of a mixed group of women from different backgrounds and experiences?
Yeah, it was probably about 10 entrepreneurs, so women that own their own company, and then maybe about 15 women that work inside really large organizations that are looking to infuse purpose into their organization.
I sort of love when there's a mix there. Like, of course, women entrepreneurs, we can learn from each other, but sometimes knowing, especially if you work with corporations, your business, works with corporations, it's good to know what women inside those organizations are dealing with too.
I agree.
How much would you say that saying yes has been a key for you in making connections? So for anyone listening who, may not get invited to a certain event, but they want to know, as you did, how to spend that time networking and really building authentic relationships with people, would you say that saying yes, even when, as you said, you might be worried about being away or may not think whatever it is going to pay off, has been a key to making connections?
Yeah, I would say that 100%. I think that saying yes and really just having an open heart in how you approach new relationships and approach people is key to building those really authentic bonds. Because if you can't show up authentically and have a really present conversation with somebody, you're not going to get what you need out of that. The other person isn't really going to understand you. But I think that it's important to say yes and to really show up and to be ready to receive advice or connections or whatever it is that you're looking for, and be ready and willing to give whatever it is that you have to offer and to build these really authentic bonds. I think that is the key to success, and obviously in a personal setting, but I think that it applies to business so much.
And it seems like either you're doing the work to be more grounded and focused and, like you said, sort of heart-centered and that kind of thing. How would you say that has influenced We Are Rosie in the way that you guys do business and how you're different from other ad agencies, if at all?
Yeah. To be honest, I have not been typically grounded, right? I have been working 70-hour weeks for companies. I've been exhausted and tired, and not really feeling that deep level of fulfillment that I think we're all after. And when I started this company, I really feel like this is my purpose in life. And I can say that unequivocally without any doubt. So this is what I'm supposed to be doing. These are the people I'm here to be serving. And this is the business that I'm meant to be building. So that has certainly influenced the way that I approach the business, because we are, before anything else, a values-based business. And I started this company to right a lot of the wrongs that I've seen in this industry and to take care of people. It's really helped to keep me grounded, because every single day when I show up for work, I am here in the service of others. I am here to support everybody that is part of the We Are Rosie team. And to do that well, I really need to be grounded, and I really need to be approaching the business from a place of love and not from a place of ego.
And one of the things you just mentioned about seeing things that were wrong in the industry, I know you have a new tagline that says you've been doing it wrong, right?
Yeah.
So tell us what you mean by that and how that has affected the company as well. And what We Are Rosie does actually for clients and the people that you connect with.
Yeah. You've been doing it wrong is really just a call out to, not anyone in particular in the advertising industry, but just kind of all the players, because I really feel like this industry has been doing a lot of things wrong. And I can run through a laundry list, but just some of them would be, from the agency side, from the brand side, and from the tech partner provider side. Those are kind of the three areas that I focus on. There has been patterns that have been sitting for decades of toxic masculinity, lack of diversity, sweatshop mentality, lack of trust. All of these things have taken an industry that is really about connecting consumers with brands, right? We're all, at the end of the day in the advertising industry, we are here to build connections between brands and people. And I feel like we have just lost sight of the humanness that's going to make that connection possible. In an industry where people are not feeling respected or heard or treated well in general, how can you expect these people to go out and build connections with humans? How can you expect them to do their best work? How can you expect them to have the brand or the client's best interests at heart when they are just defeated and overwhelmed all of the time? And so I think that is the mentality that we're saying, listen, you've been doing it wrong. It doesn't have to be this way. We can take really, really good care of the people in this business and deliver incredible business results. And hey, we can all still make money, right? It doesn't mean that your margins go to zero and that your business is no longer solvent, right? It means that actually your business will rise. All boats will rise. You'll have better retention. Your customers will have better outcomes. And so we're really here to just flip that mindset and to change things that have unfortunately become kind of standard operating procedure in this business.
Mm-hmm. So how does We Are Rosie operate as far as helping, if I understand correctly, pair top talent with agencies for different kinds of projects and things like that?
Yeah, so we work both with advertising agencies and brands directly. Mm-hmm. And we have currently over 500 people in the We Are Rosie network.
Amazing.
And our job, yes, it's so exciting.
Less than a year. That's awesome.
Yeah. It's a big milestone for us. We actually hit it last week, and it was one of those moments where you really take a moment to pause and reflect and be thankful for everything that the business has done. But our job at We Are Rosie is to take this network of 500 absolutely incredible people, and I mean it, like the talent in our network can stand up against the talent for any agency, any brand in the world. And they amaze me every day. My job is to take these people and match them with projects where they can move the needle forward for either an advertising agency or a brand direct. Mm-hmm. And it's a really scalable solution. So we work with agencies and brands on everything from I need somebody that really understands this specific niche area of advertising for 6 months because we have someone going on parental leave or sabbatical, all the way to we're doing a complete rebrand marketing strategy for a large tech company right now, where we've even placed an interim CMO into their organization who's supported by 5 other Rosie team members to help them restructure their entire marketing strategy and marketing team. So it's truly scalable. I'm agnostic to the type of project. My goal is to put really kick-ass, amazing talent on projects that really are going to make them say, hell yes, right? Like I want everybody on my team to be working on projects that are so aligned with their skills and where they want to head in their career that they are really excited to show up to work every day.
Nice. And most of the people in the with We Are Rosie work remotely, or do they work
Yeah.
within the organizations that you work with, that are clients? Excuse me.
Yeah, about 90% of our teams that are on projects right now are working remotely, which is incredible, and they are getting it done. And I think they're really in an industry that has kind of shunned remote work to a certain extent, at least in certain areas. I think we're really helping the industry kind of open their eyes to the possibilities of what can happen when you are more open to the way that people work, which is fantastic to already be seeing that shift happen.
You're showing them how they were doing it wrong. This is the way to do it. Now, you mentioned that you're agnostic to the projects, but do you select certain kinds of clients and brands that you want to work with? Or is it just kind of, if it's interesting to you and the company, if the company, you go for it? Just for people thinking about, how do I choose my clients?
Right. So it is important for us to ensure that our clients are aligned with our brand values. And to be honest, we've already had to turn away clients that were not aligned with our brand values. My promise and my priority is to make my team number one, right? So they are the impetus for everything that we do in this business. And if I don't feel like my team will be respected, treated well, set up for success was a big one, we just won't take the project on. So in that regard, we really want to work and partner with companies that understand our ethos, are aligned, understand our brand values, and are willing to think about working in a different way, because that's what we're asking everybody to do. And it's a change, and you may not be ready for it, and that's totally fine. And you may think you're ready for it, and we may say, you know what, I don't think that you're quite there yet. My big focus is making sure that every engagement that we have is a success. As a new business, the last thing I want is for anybody, whether it's somebody that's on my team or a partner of ours, to not have a delightful experience in working with us. So we're really focused on taking on the projects and saying no where necessary to make sure that we can deliver the results that we need for our clients.
And how do you find, or how do most of the clients come to you? Is it after you had a couple, it's more so referrals? Because as we've mentioned a few times, you're growing quickly, which is fantastic, in just 9 months and not yet a year. I can't imagine what you're going to do next year. But how would you say that most of the clients come to you?
Most of our clients to date have been referrals. We have done a couple of pieces of cold outreach, but not very many at all. So we're very fortunate in that regard. There's a fantastic buzz around We Are Rosie in the marketplace, and people are talking about it. And every week we have more clients kind of popping up and wanting to learn more and seeing how they could partner with us, which is something that we're really thankful for. I'm also really thankful that, every single one of our existing clients has renewed. So we haven't had a client that has, taken on a project with the We Are Rosie team and not wanted to continue with additional projects. So that is certainly keeping us busy for now, and has me thinking about how I'm going to scale this business into 2019 and how we're going to be able to serve so many more clients next year and put so many more people to work.
So speaking on that side about the people you're putting to work, what do you look for then in an ideal recruit or person to be a part of your team?
Yeah. So a lot of the same things that I'm looking for in selecting our partners, our business partners, and our clients. I want people who are fully aligned with our brand values and who understand what we are trying to accomplish as a business, because this is a big deal, right? Like, this isn't just showing up for a job. We are here to change the way the advertising industry works. So I really want people that understand, are aligned, and are on board with that mission. And I really want people that are comfortable working remotely, that are comfortable sharing what it is that they need and want to be successful in any engagement, that are excited to be a part of a team and to build new relationships with people that they haven't worked with before, and that can represent We Are Rosie inside another organization.
What would you say has been the best way that you found that magical 500 number? Has that also been through referrals for people wanting to know how they can potentially connect with you guys?
Yeah, it has been all word of mouth. It's incredible. Like, I really...
We Are Rosie is hot.
It is. It is. I'm thankful for it. And, these 500 people are they are my motivation every day. When I look at the skills that we have, when I look at the people that are entering our network every week, I'm blown away. I cannot wait to scale this business and get all these people to work.
And as you mentioned earlier, one of the persons that you placed, I think you said it was a CMO. So for everyone listening, just to know about the company is that you're not necessarily just, what's the word? Like a temp agency that's placing entry level people. There are those, but you're really, as you mentioned, bringing in top talent or people who have been in an industry maybe for a certain amount of time and who are looking for a different way to work.
Exactly. Yeah. So we have talent that ranges from, a few years out of college that want to, like you, Elayne, travel the world and do meaningful work.
Except I've been out of college a long time, but I'll take it.
The wanderlust component.
Exactly.
And all the way to people who have spent 20 or 25 years inside Fortune 50 brands running marketing departments. And that's the beauty of We Are Rosie, is that, we aren't focused in any one area. And my favorite part is to take these people that have 25 years of experience and to put them on a team with somebody that's a few years out of college that has a ton of high potential, and to see the magic that really happens when we're able to bring these people in that are seemingly from different worlds and to put them on a team to get something done for a client. I mean, that is really the magic. But yeah, to your point, we have, everything across the board. We've got copywriters, we've got CMOs, we've got former chief digital officers from some of the biggest agencies in the world, media directors, all the way down to, analytics, junior media planners. We've got it all.
That's excellent. And as you mentioned that maybe the person just out of college can learn from the more seasoned person. But for everyone listening, the seasoned person can also learn from the person just out of college. That has happened to me many a time. Yeah.
I agree.
Yes. Now, speaking about teams, what does the Tiger team mean?
Yeah. So a Tiger team is a term I didn't know what it meant, 9 months ago. And I probably read about it or someone told me about it. But a Tiger team is this idea of putting together a hand-picked or custom curated team to solve a business challenge. And the ability of We Are Rosie to put together these Tiger teams is really one of our competitive advantages, in that because we have this bench, I call them like my bench strength of 500 people, I don't really have to have any preconceived notions about what a client needs, right? We're able to have these really authentic, honest conversations with our clients, really get to understand exactly what it is that their business needs and what their challenges are in this moment, and to handpick this Tiger team of people from our bench that can accomplish that need for a client or can guide a client to make whatever decisions or changes they would like to make in their organization. And then we're really able to bring people in and out as needed, right? It may be that we need one person on this project for the first 2 months, but then the back 3 months, it's going to be a different skill set and a different talent. Because of the way that we're structured as a business, we're really able to ensure that our clients are getting exactly the talent they need and exactly the experience that they need to move the business forward, and nothing more and nothing less, right? Which means more efficiency for our clients. It means keeping costs down, and it means we're really able to maintain that honest relationship that is so important to me, right? The last thing I would ever want as a business owner is to say, this person's going to be on your project or leading this engagement just because they're sitting here and they have free time, right? Which I think can happen sometimes.
Right.
For me, it's this person is going to lead your project or your engagement because they are exactly the right person to do this for you.
So now I'm curious for you, sometimes you hear people talk about either a fear of success or when things are going so well and growing and those kinds of things in your business. Do you have any moments, or have you had any moments where the uncertainty didn't come because necessarily you didn't know what was going to happen next, but because things are so successful or, things are growing so quickly and that kind of thing? Did you experience any of that? And if so, how do you deal with that as well? Because we talk about obviously struggles and the journey on the show, but also there are times when sometimes things are going great and you're scared as hell.
Yeah, that is true. There are days I describe it. It's funny. I tell my husband, like, within the course of 20 minutes, I can go from the highest highs to like the depths of despair.
That's entrepreneurship. Yes.
Like really within like 20 minutes, these are the emotions that you experience on a day-to-day basis. And like that in and of itself is so exhausting. I wouldn't say that I particularly have a fear of success. I have a vision of success. I see where this business is going to go and what we're going to accomplish. I do have fears that will crop up around, oh my gosh, like this is happening. This is like a real business. It's just 9 months ago, I set up my We Are Rosie email address and it was just me out there in the ether by myself. Mm-hmm. And now, I get hundreds of emails every week, right? And I'm like, wow, this is like really growing really fast. And if I start to get that little creep of fear, I quickly replace it with gratitude, right? Like, oh my gosh, this is like, I'm so thankful that this is where we are. But it can be hard sometimes. And, I've started to get really aware of when I have that fear creeping in. And I will replace it with gratitude and excitement and vision and all the things that are going to be amazing as we bring this business to life.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think that's an important thing for at least what I'm going to take away. As you said, whether it's fear of growth or fear of something else not growing, replacing it with gratitude can really shift everything for you.
Yeah.
Yes. What would you say that entrepreneurship has taught you about yourself as a woman?
I would say it has taught me a lot about women in general. Before I get specifically about me, this journey has taught me that women can do anything. Mm-hmm. I am so impressed by the women that I have met along the way, and the stories that I've heard from other women and the impact that women have made with juggling life and work and just all of it. And it has made me so much more grateful for every friend that I've had that has gone on their own journey. And I really, truly, I mean it. Women can do anything. And I tell this to my daughters all the time.
That's awesome.
What I've learned about myself is that I can do anything. When I think about everything that we've accomplished as a company and as a business, there's a lot of stuff that I don't know. And there's a lot of ambiguity in the world. But I am just as qualified and ready and willing and able to tackle all of those things and the unknown as anybody else. And, I don't think I really recognized that about myself a year ago.
Mm-hmm. So in closing, Stephanie, if you think over your life and career and you had the chance to thank only one person whose support was critical to you personally or professionally, who would that be and what would you say?
Oh, wow. This is a tough one. I think I would probably thank my father. To go back to the fact that my father came to this country as a refugee. He has a 5th grade education, struggles to read and write English, came here, put 3 kids through incredible colleges here in Atlanta, and taught me about the kind of work ethic that you need to build a business. So my father has worked as a tailor his entire life, really, since he was probably 10 or 11 years old. He's 75 years old. He still works 40 hours a week. And he has taught me and my brother and sister about persistence, about not being overwhelmed by obstacles, and about the power of hard work. Because at the end of the day, you've just got to be willing to do the work to get where you want to go. And so that's never been an issue for me because I've always had this example from him.
Excellent. I love it. You answered that perfectly. Thanks, Dad. What would you say now are ways that we can support you? Tell everyone, the website, if you want to share any ways that people can find out more about working with you or anything like that. And of course, I'll have links to everything.
Yeah. So our website is wearerosie.com, ROSIE. You can follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook is launching in November, and Twitter. So you can just find us on all of those places at We Are Rosie. And if anybody wants to chat more, you can email us at hello@wearerosie.com.
All right, excellent. Now that doesn't go to you and your hundreds of emails, right? I can put that in there. hello@wearerosie.com. Okay. I always make sure when people give out their email, I'm like, okay, my people.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Excellent. Stephanie, thank you so much. You know how much already I admire you and the work that you're doing, but I'm so glad to get to share your story with our audience. So I appreciate you.
Yeah, I appreciate you, Elayne. I'm so glad we got to catch up, and I'll speak with you soon.
Absolutely. Now, before you go, what's a parting piece of advice from you to our listeners about anything?
Oh, wow. I've got a good one, because you asked earlier about saying yes, right? And the impact that can have on your success. Something that I think we need to talk about more is saying no. And, trust your gut on things, and recognize that being willing to say no is just as important to being willing to say yes, right? So whether that's saying no to a client that isn't a right fit for your business, whether it's saying no to an opportunity that is going to be too distracting from what you need to accomplish. I think that we need to embrace saying no, particularly as women, and to say it in a guilt-free way and in a kind and thoughtful way, but being willing to say no and having your own personal boundaries is really critical to success as well.
All right. I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Stephanie. To find out more about her and to find out more about We Are Rosie, just go to supportissexy.com. Go to that search box and just type in Stephanie, STEPHANIE. Her show notes page will pop up with links, resources, again, all the ways to get in touch with her and how to find out more about the great work that We Are Rosie is doing. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you know just how much I appreciate you. Again, if you are ready to level up your mindset, I want you to go now. Download that free mindset meditation at levelupmindset.coach. It's time to take your mindset to the next level. Again, thank you for being here. I appreciate you. Until we chat again, always remember, support is sexy, and having it all doesn't mean doing it all alone. And I'll talk to you soon. Take care.